What's up guys, welcome back to a brand new video on Lexalexus. We are back with our score predictions and we are predicting for week 19. I cannot believe how quickly the season is just flying beyond our very eyes. We've got a hectic period leading up to Christmas, which always fills me with excitement with so much football to predict and to observe as well. As always guys, please make sure you tell me your score predictions in the comments down below. I'm always interested to see your thoughts going into those games as well. There will be a midweek set of games coming up soon. Prediction League is nearly there. I just need a little bit of time. I'm a little bit behind because I've been, been busy for the past 6 game weeks, but I am officially starting to catch up. So you will see an update on it very, very soon. Certainly before the new year, you'll see an update. So keep posted on this channel and making sure you turn on notifications so you don't miss any of my community posts. If you guys like what we see, please smash the like button. It really does help the growth of this channel. Please do hit the subscribe button too. It really does help. We're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers. We're getting ever closer. So thank you guys as always for the support. And please share the channel as well. All 3 of these things are free to do and they really, really help. But without any further ado, let's start predicting for week 19 for the championship. We started with Burnley versus Middlesbrough, which I think is going to be a little bit of a chess game. You've got a really highly defensive side going up against a really offensive side. And typically it ends in pretty much a stalemate and you can't determine a winner from it. You feel something might need to give within this game. So Burnley have certainly been proven to be defensively very, very strong with 5 clean sheets in a row with only 2 home goals conceded all season. I mean, that is sensational for a club to be that resilient at home. But Middlesbrough have been turning up on the most part with their goal scoring forms, taking away their defeat against Blackburn. They have been on it in their attacking form in their last 5 games, which they popped up with 18 goals. So if any team could maybe breach that titanium Burnley defence, it might be one of the best attacks in the championship in Middlesbrough who might have that chance. But to predict this, it's so hard. They both won in their games. Burnley are starting to score more goals. So ultimately, it does make Burnley a little bit more intimidating here. As a prediction, I could see Burnley edging there. But you know what? Just to be a bit different, I'm going to see Middlesbrough actually make things interesting. And I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw actually in this game. Might be a bit bold of me to predict Burnley to concede, but ultimately, I think again, I'm going to try and be a bit more outlandish with my predictions just to mix things up a little bit. I'm up for a little bit of fun. So let me know what you think of this game. I really do think this one's going to be a tough game to call this weekend. Next up, we see Leeds going up against Derby County. Both have suffered with a defeat last game. Leeds managed to lose for the first time in 4 matches when they lost 1-0 to Blackburn Rovers. The difference was a penalty all at the end, and Leeds could not find a way to penetrate that Blackburn defence. And it has been a couple of away games which I've been a little bit cautious about Leeds' form. It's typically at home at Ellen Road where they've been really strong so far this season. Derby, on the most part, their strength is at home, although they did lose in their last home game against Sheffield Wednesday, quite devastatingly, that they lost in the last kick of the game with Jamal Lowe getting a 94th minute winner. And ultimately, it was Sheffield Wednesday pushing by what it looks like that winner near the end of the game. And Derby did have the game for the most part in control, and I believe Sheffield Wednesday actually scored with their first shot on target. So a bit of a hammer blow to Derby's part, but coming to here, Leeds I think will find it frustrating. I think Derby will certainly make it difficult for Leeds to break down, but as a prediction, honestly, I just think with how Leeds have been so strong at home, Derby have not picked up many points away from home so far this season. I think the safest bet is for a Leeds win as a prediction. I might go for a 2-0 victory to Leeds. Honestly, I think it might be a win and a clean sheet for Leeds as well, which will be a helpful result for them to try and propel themselves back up in the table, because it was a bad defeat last weekend. They lost a bit of ground on that top 2 place, so this result certainly should help them. Next up, we see Sheffield Wednesday going up against Preston North End. So Sheffield Wednesday certainly celebrated in the last kick of their game I just spoke about with that last minute winner, and Barry Bannon coming in with the equalising goal, exactly what he needed to as well. He's proven to be a really big player for Sheffield Wednesday this season, and as is Jamal Lowe and so many other Sheffield Wednesday players as well. And actually Sheffield Wednesday starting to get a little bit of consistent form, which is nice as well. So keeping this form up for a couple of games could actually see Sheffield Wednesday comfortably within the top half of the table at the moment. If there was any fears of them getting dragged to the relegation zone, they've certainly have eased off now. Preston, on the other hand, are not quite got their neck out of the woods yet. They're still within the mire, although they did get a draw against West Brom, where they did fall behind, but a very promising second half performance with Reece Jacobson getting the equaliser proved to be enough for them to secure a point. They're still hovering a little bit close to that region for my liking, but honestly I think they have shown that they have got the attacking quality when relied upon to get those really crucial moments here. But this game for me is such a tough one to call. Sheffield Wednesday at home have been quite inconsistent. Preston away from home similarly have also been pretty inconsistent. So when you've got 2 inconsistent sides, a lot of the times this is a bit of a coin flip, and you can really base it on how each player is performing and their star players for their respective clubs. As a prediction here, I'm going to go for a narrow 2-1 home win to Sheffield Wednesday. I think they might just about edge this one, but honestly, I would not be surprised if you get a Preston win or a draw. I think this game is really, really close, so I'd like to know what you are thinking of this game as well. I think this one's going to be quite an intriguing one to call. Next up, we've got Sunderland going up against Stoke City. Both sides were involved with a defeat last weekend around, but both against really tough opposition, to be fair. Sunderland were involved in an away defeat against Sheffield United, who are proving to be top of the league and the best team of the league so far this season. It was a pretty feisty affair with both sides going down to 10 men, actually starting from the first half. And it just proved a moment of quality when it was called upon. Tom Davies got the only goal for Sheffield United. It was a bit of a hammer blow for Sunderland, but either way, I don't think a draw was going to be particularly helpful, bearing in mind how many games Sunderland have drawn quite recently. Stoke have been doing pretty well with their form, but that form was halted after their home defeat against Burnley. Honestly, whilst they did get into some pretty nice positions, Burnley as a whole going forward just really killed them off. And I do think it'll be interesting here. Sunderland is certainly not as strong and as dominating as they have been in the first couple of games or so. So I do think Stoke have got a chance. But having said that, I think this game's going to be pretty low scoring. Both sides haven't really been scoring many goals. So I wouldn't be surprised for a 0-0 draw. But I'm actually going to edge Sunderland very, very narrowly by 1-0. It feels to me that Sunderland have had a really tough run of games quite recently. And I do think this is the game that stands out to me that they can easily get their season back on track and can start making up some of the ground that they've lost because they were top 2 pretty comfortably. But now they're firmly in that playoff position, and right now if they keep the drawing streak going for a couple of games, they could have a risk of falling out of the top 6 completely. So I do think this win will put their season back on track, and it'll be interesting to see if they can kick on with the fast flowing amount of games. But let me know what you think as well of this game in the comments. Next to predict is Cardiff going up against Watford. Both teams were involved in a draw last weekend, but very different games from both of their parts. So Cardiff were involved in a pretty massive game against Coventry. It was Coventry's first game with Frank Lampard in charge, and they took the lead twice against Coventry. And I seem to remember that when Derby hired Frank Lampard, he was involved in some pretty major games as well, and actually has had a habit of conceding the lead and actually scoring first in a lot of those games as well. But with true Frank Lampard fashion, just makes the games really, really entertaining. And they were involved in a 4-goal thriller, a 2-2 draw in the end. And I feel like it was a bit more of a hammer blow for Cardiff that they could have got a win against a relegation rival and they missed out on the opportunity of taking the lead twice. Watford, they would be quite frustrated themselves. They were at home to Queen's Park Rangers and they only drew by 0-0 actually. It was quite a bizarre scoreline in that front there. But that draw, whilst it was maybe a bit annoying to them, they still are in the top 6 currently, but certainly they'll be wanting to get 3 points here in this game, since a lot of the teams below them are looking like that they're going to try and catch up on them as well. As a prediction, honestly, I think both teams will be able to find the back ball in the back of the net. I've been quite impressed actually with their attacking play quite recently for both of them, despite being in different areas of the table. I might go for a Watford away win just based on the quality that I'm seeing with them quite recently. I'm going to go for a 2-1 away victory. I think it's going to be quite close, but I think Watford might just edge it, whether it will be a counter-attack or whether it will just be a rare moment of quality here. But certainly will be an interesting encounter, this. Next up, we see Hull going up against Blackburn Rovers. Both sides having very different runs of form leading up to this game. Hull have got the longest losing streak out of everyone in the Championship with 6 consecutive defeats. And I did have warning signs, despite Hull picking up some early points in the season, that their squad looked very, very light and they did let a lot of quality players go. And I think what we're seeing now is that sort of reality now coming to bite them, that they're really, really lacking the resources to maintain a really competitive season. And right now, I don't think any side more than Hull need to reinvest in that squad, because it has got resources that can thrive in the Championship, but there's just not enough of it. Blackburn are slowly but surely turning a page in their form. They had a pretty rough period, but now with 3 wins in a row, they are now slowly but surely re-entering the conversation and trying to get back into the top 6. And they'll look at this game as a big opportunity to do so. Prediction, honestly, if Hull get a result, it wouldn't surprise me. But I backed Hull last time against Middlesbrough and that backfired on me. So I'm not going to make the same mistake again. I'm going to go for a 3-1 away victory to Blackburn. They certainly have been playing with a lot more confidence at the moment. And I think that will naturally thrive them and make sure that for their part that they'll win this game. So I do think it will be a win for Blackburn. But again, a very unhelpful result for Hull, where they really need to get their act together soon. Next up, we've got Luton Town going up against Swansea. So Luton Town were involved in the 6-goal thriller in that last game, probably the game of the Championship, against Norwich City. It was a 4-2 defeat for Luton's part. They actually started pretty well, Jacob Brown getting the opening goal in that game, and ultimately what we saw was 2 really highly attacking sides being quite ambitious going forward, but ultimately Luton's defence really crumbled actually with the attacking quality of Norwich. But what I have been impressed with Luton has been their home form. Their home form has taken a bit of a corner. They're actually now starting to get more consistent results at home. Swansea have started so well, and then their form just typically just withers away a little bit here. And I thought against Portsmouth, whilst they did get a draw in the end, they did fall behind twice, and I was a little bit let down by Swansea there. I mean, I know Portsmouth put up a bit of a fight, but I did expect a little bit more based on how Swansea have been performing in the past couple of games or so. I think with how strong Luton have been at home, I might actually back them here, you know. I'm a little bit more confident. I've just got a bit of a gut instinct they might get a result. I'm going to go for a 2-0 victory to Luton Town, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Swansea also get a win as well. It's naturally so inconsistent for Luton to predict them anything. So if you get any sort of score prediction correct with Luton, you deserve a lot of credit, because they've certainly been one of the most inconsistent sides of the Championship in variations of performance. But Swansea has similarly been a little bit inconsistent in parts. So I'm going to flip the coin and say it's going to be Luton's way with them being at home. But ultimately, I wouldn't be surprised with whatever result we get in this game. Our next game to predict is Millwall going up against Coventry. So Millwall were involved in a 1-1 draw last weekend, and Coventry themselves were involved in a 2-2 draw. So both sides been involved in a draw last time around. Certainly, for Coventry's point of view, probably a bit fortunate to get the draw with a late penalty actually scored by Victor Torp. So ultimately, both will be looking at this game wanting to get 3 points. Millwall with 3 1-1 draws in a row, actually. They'll be wanting to try and get a win to try and still regain that interest of getting into the top 6. Coventry are hoping for a little bit more points to be generated with this new managerial bounce. It certainly was a bit of a positive response when I saw their performance levels here, but certainly defensively and how different Lampard is to Mark Robbins, I think we will get an adjustment period where Coventry may suffer a little bit, but I think slowly but surely, I think things will turn a corner for them. But as a prediction here, I don't know if I want to edge Millwall here. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. You know, Millwall been drawing a lot of games, but I wouldn't be surprised if Millwall get a result here. I'm writing off Coventry a little bit. I just think there's going to be a little bit of an adjustment period for them until they start getting some positive results. But I'm going to go for a draw, which wouldn't be a too terrible result for either side, I'd say. Next up, we've got Portsmouth going up against Bristol City. Two very different results last weekend. Portsmouth taking the lead twice against Swansea. Looked like they were going to get their second away defeat, or win actually, I should say, of the season. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Despite taking the lead twice, I think Colby Bishop coming back has actually made a really big impact to this Portsmouth attacking line. But it wasn't enough in the end. I think conceding the own goal just before half-time really was a killer blow for Portsmouth. Had they gone to half-time with a 2-goal lead, they would have had a bit more to build upon. But I do think the nerves would have started creeping in when it turned into a 1-goal advantage just before a bit of a sucker punch moment. Bristol City were involved in a 4-0 victory over Plymouth Argyle. I mean, Bristol City have sort of been a bit patchy with their form as of late, but certainly this result certainly proved to them that they're going to be right up there in the top half of the championship. It's just a question of how consistent the teams around them are going to be. It might indicate more problems for Plymouth, but I will speak about that when I do predict Plymouth coming up next. But with this, I do see both teams getting on the score sheet here. We've not seen Portsmouth play at home for a while. Of course, they were supposed to have that game against Millwall, which got postponed in the end. Let's hope for no disasters leading up to this game this time. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a narrow 2-1 away win to Bristol City. Something's telling me with how well their attackers are being a little bit cohesive this year, I do think they will just get the difference in terms of the amount of chance creating. But I think Portsmouth are going to make things very, very competitive though. So, close one to call this one. Sneaky me, almost forgot to predict Plymouth. They were actually supposed to be the first game I predicted before Portsmouth and Bristol City, but we'll swap Portsmouth and Plymouth the other way around. So we'll predict Plymouth and Oxford now. And honestly, I think this game's going to be pretty fiery in terms of the goals. So Plymouth were involved in that 4-0 defeat, as I just previously mentioned. Certainly another moment to forget for Wayne Rooney, another poor away showing. But at home, they have proven that they are very competitive at home park. So now going on to Oxford, they were involved in a 1-1 draw with Millwall. Tyler Goodrum with a goal in the last 10 minutes, proving to be a pretty crucial goal for Oxford. But they are close in that bottom part of the table. I mean, this game as a whole is crucial for the bottom of the championship because Plymouth are only just above the relegation zone. Oxford just above them. And I think Plymouth can really start taking advantage of Oxford if they do get a result here. I see goals in both sides going into this game. I think both sides will be really forward thinking. I mean, it could be the opposite and both sides are nervous to attack, but I just have that feeling with that Plymouth crowd. I just don't think they'd allow it. I think that Plymouth have to attack, and ultimately they know themselves that they can't get too carried away. And as a prediction, I sense late goals. You know what? I'm going to go for a very dramatic 3-2 home victory to Plymouth. Don't predict many 3-2s, but they're typically up to games where I think something special could occur. And honestly, I think we'll see one here. I mean, both of these sides are capable of scoring a late goal, and we've seen it from both these sides at both occasions. So if we see late goals from both, and ultimately, you know, they're just complementing each other, that they just supply the drama, and I love it. So I do think this game is certainly one worthy to watch. Our penultimate game sees QPR going up against Norwich. So QPR, as I mentioned, were involved in a draw with Watford. And I've got to say, QPR are picking the odd point when they can. It just feels to me that they're drawing a bit too much for my liking. And then they're not getting enough 3 points that will give them the opportunity to get out of the bottom three. But, you know, the gap to get out of the bottom three, considering what it was a couple of weeks ago, is certainly not too bad now. And QPR have done well to catch up a little bit, but they still need to get out of it. I do think the longer they stay in the bottom three, you know, the more likely they could lose that momentum, and then all the fear and the self-doubt will start creeping back in. Norwich are certainly turning a page in their form. Like I mentioned with Blackburn, they are absolutely flying at the moment, and if they carry on, they could have a chance of creeping into the top 6. And I do think Norwich, not only were they happy with that win against Luton Town, they would have also been happy that Ipswich could not beat Crystal Palace at home as well. And I'll say it right now, if Ipswich do not get 3 points against Bournemouth, I think Ipswich are getting relegated. 15 games in, and I think I can already call that they'll be relegated with Southampton. But enough of the Premier League. Going into this game, it's quite tough. I do think both sides will score, but I cannot afford to ignore the fact that QPR at home are just horrendous with their form. Norwich are scoring more goals. Chernaki's getting goals. Borja has signs. It's just unbelievable, and getting goals as well. You're seeing Emiliano Marcondes now getting involved in the scoring as well. So I do think that Norwich team is starting to click along and is starting to fill the gaps despite some key absentees like Sargent. I'm going to go for a 3-1 away victory to Norwich, purely based on that incredible improvement that I'm seeing in their attacking formation. Our last game to predict this weekend sees West Brom going up against Sheffield United. So I do think this is going to be two really sort of part the bussy type teams playing up against each other. Maybe that's a bit of a disservice to Sheffield United, because Sheffield United are not only being really good defensively, but they're scoring so many goals. They did in their last game against Sunderland. It was a very tight affair. Got quite feisty, as I mentioned, with 2 red cards. Tom Davies getting the only goal, and it was proven to be a very important one, because now they've got a bit of a gap from the teams around them. And considering they had that 2-point deduction, they would have had an even bigger lead if they weren't deducted before the start of this season. West Brom are involved in yet another draw. It's absolutely crazy amount of draws. I think it's 8 draws out of 9. It's absolutely incredible. Their latest draw was against Preston, where they took the lead, but it did feel when they did take the lead, they just kind of sat back, which was very disappointing for West Brom standard, that they're not attacking the games and trying to finish teams off. It's been a while since I've seen West Brom score more than 1 goal in a game. So I do think there is something a little bit fundamentally not wrong per se, but I do think they're not performing right the best that they could, which is in a way concerning to me, because then it means that West Brom will start losing that momentum and will start losing out on having a chance of getting to the top 6, which I really do think with the squad that they have, they really should be trying to get there. As a prediction, I predict very little goals, like Burnley and Middlesbrough. We typically see it with these top of the table clashes. I'm going to edge Sheffield United with a 1-0 away victory. I mean, a draw would be the safest result based on the amount of draws that West Brom have had, but I'm going to say Sheffield United do it again. They just seem to find a way to getting the edge in these really tight games, and I think this game will be no different. So let me know what you think of that in the comments down below. So guys, these are my predictions for week 19. As always guys, make sure you comment your predictions as well in the comments down below, and you'll be able to score points in the Lexalexus Football Prediction League. That'll wrap it up for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please do smash the like button if you did enjoy the video. Please do hit the subscribe button too, and please share the channel too. All 3 of these things are free to do, and they really do help the growth of this channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary for in this video, and as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care everyone, and enjoy week 19. Take care guys.